Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. Stock markets reverse Monday's gains, ending with sharp cuts. The Sensex loses over 600 points. The Nifty falls below 18,000. Bank and IT stocks lead the fall. Rupee posts the biggest rally in 2 months, breaks below the 82 mark against the dollar. Almost all Asian currencies gain ground against the greenback. Metals rally as the Chinese economy reopens at a rapid pace. Morgan Stanley turns bullish on Chinese assets, expects the stock market to be the top performer in the world this year. Goldman Sachs expects the Chinese markets to rally 15%. Axis Bank revises its deal with Max Financial. The right to acquire 7% additional stake in Max Life will be at fair market value. CNBC-TV18 had reported last October that the insurance regulators asked both parties to rework the deal. The Union Power Ministry asks power generation companies and utilities to import 6% of India's coal requirement for the next 9 months as coal supply from all sources is unable to meet the demands of thermal power plants. Uttar Pradesh government suspends a production license of Marion Biotech, saying the company did not respond to a show-cause notice. The Uzbekistan government linked the deaths of 18 children in the country to a cough syrup manufactured by the company. Private equity giant Carlyle Group acquires a majority stake in beauty and wellness company VLCC. The founders of the 34-year-old company will continue to hold a significant stake. Authorities begin demolition of buildings marked unsafe in Uttarakhand's Joshimath. 678 buildings, including 2 hotels, are set to be razed to the ground. 81 families are currently living in relief camps, braving the biting cold. Former ICICI Bank CEO Chanda Kochhar and her husband Deepak Kochhar walk out of jail a day after being granted a 2-week bail. The Bombay High Court had termed their arrest illegal, but also asked the couple to appear before investigating authorities whenever summoned. Well, let's start with the stock market action of the day. All the gains that were made on Monday wiped out today. The Sensex lost over 600 points. Nifty lost nearly 20 points. With this fall, the Nifty is back below. Almost 200 points was down for the Nifty. With this fall, the Nifty is back below the 18,000 mark. Bank and IT stocks were the top losers. Prashant is standing by to wrap up the market action for us. Prashant.
We had a fall today, and a sharp fall at that. The market giving back yesterday's gains and then some more. And it was puzzling because the global setup was okay. Asia held, Europe was not down. The dollar did not rally. US futures were stalling but did not fall. But we fell here. You can kind of broadly zoom out and say, well, India was the big outperformer of 22, and this is some amount of give back which is happening in favor of other markets, which were big drags last year. Banks were underperformers, and PSU banks in particular, and I think that was, I'll come to stocks in a bit, very clearly showing that mid caps and small caps, no sharp falls on indices themselves, but more down than up. Market breadth, of course, as the consequence, was negative 2:1. Losses coming through. Before I come to that, the one stock which held out in the Nifty was Tata Motors. 6% higher, hopes of a turnaround for the JLR business. It's coming off very beaten down levels, but did well. Adani Enterprises, PNB, IDBI, Bank of Baroda, IOB, UCO Bank, and so on and so forth. Big selling pressure. PSU banks, which did so well last few months, are seeing selling. Metro Brands, Nureka, some of the recent sort of performers also pulling back. Broader gainers, and there were a few: Sona Comstar, Schneider, Max Financial, which is the story we reported 3 months back, and of course now official, reacting sharply. Aavas Financial, you have Rate Gain, there was a brokerage initiation, GMDC, Chennai Petro, and a bunch of others. The big cue from here is basically going to be Fed Chair Powell, who will make a speech today. Will he push back against market pricing and easier overall market conditions? That is, I think, the one thing which we need to wait and watch out for. If he does that, expect a bit of risk off in global markets. If he sounds more accommodative, I think we may have a better picture when we come back tomorrow.
Yes, we will be tracking Jerome Powell's speech later tonight. Prashant, many thanks for joining us. In the money market, the rupee rose to a new 1-month high against the dollar on expectations that the US Federal Reserve could turn less hawkish. The rupee ending at 81.76 against the greenback. Lata joins us now with the money market action. Lata.
Yes, the rupee is at the highest level since early December, and it's a gain of almost 0.7% in a single day. It's a little rare. The reasons are not far to seek. It's because both dollar and crude have weakened, and those were the factors that had pushed the rupee down towards the 83 mark in October 2022. Now, the reason why the dollar has been weakening and crude as well is because there is a sense that the Fed has tightened enough, and that is beginning to work. The non-farm payrolls clearly indicated that the monthly wages have not risen as much as the market anticipated. And since then, we've seen this seminal dollar weakening. Now, the rupee, should have started strengthening the moment the crude and dollar weakness set in. From October, the rupee has actually not strengthened commensurate with the weakness that we saw in crude and dollar. Those are the two things that kept the rupee weak. Both of them have weakened, so the rupee logically should strengthen. We didn't see it all these days, also because the RBI was intervening and buying up dollars whenever there was a rupee strength. Today, the RBI was not seen in the market for a goodish bit, and that's why you saw the rupee fall all the way to 82.10 and then below 82, 81.80. Around that point, people said probably there was some dollar buying by RBI, and the rupee fall started to stabilize and stop. So clearly now there is a bit of appreciation in order for the rupee.
Lata, many thanks for joining us. Let's take a look at mutual fund inflows for the month of December. It's been a mixed month for the mutual fund space, but equity inflows jumping threefold, coming in at over 7,200 crore rupees versus over 2,200 crore rupees in the previous month. The SIP category was another strong performer. Inflows remained steady, staying above 13,000 crores for the third straight month. Now, metals are rallying as the Chinese economy reopens at a much faster pace than was expected. China is dismantling its zero-COVID policy after nearly 3 years, and brokerages are expecting growth to get back on track. Morgan Stanley is bullish on Chinese assets and the yuan. It expects Chinese stocks to be the top performer in the world in 2023. Goldman Sachs has made a similar prediction a few days ago. It expects Chinese stocks to rally 15% this year. And speaking of China's reopening, the country is retaliating against others who impose travel curbs on Chinese citizens. China has suspended issuing visas for travelers from South Korea and Japan. Chinese consulates in South Korea will stop issuing short-term visas for visits, business, tourism, medical care, transit, and personal matters. Back home, TCS delivered in the third quarter, but the company's management expects demand from Europe to be soft in the long run. Despite this, TCS is hopeful about achieving 25% margins by the end of the fiscal, as they expect the deal pipeline to remain strong.
These 2 years have been a fairly strong growth years. The next year is like more a balanced year, a consolidation year, both on the revenue side as well as on the overall profitability side. The perspectives are very different depending on the markets. And I think the most important one is that we have a divergence in US between what the larger commentary is and what our own perspective is. And the 15% Europe, which has been a big growth driver for us till last year, that is off the boil and likely to remain soft in the near future.
We came in at 23.4. We said we want to exit this year at 25. And structurally, we have worked towards it. If you see in both last quarter and this quarter, we have been able to get improvements. Two specific parts to it. One is we have been focused on execution rigor, and bulk of it is coming from the execution rigor, whether it was in terms of the churn which we went through the last year and the capacity building which we invested into last year, that coming into productive capacity and helping us on the utilization side, realization, the factors which we called out.
Well, that's TCS. Now, CNBC-TV18 Newsbreak confirmed Axis Bank has revived its deal with Max Financial to acquire 7% additional stake in Max Life. Now, Axis Bank has confirmed that the additional stake in Max Life will be acquired at fair market value. Yash, who broke that story way back in October, joins us now with the details of the revised agreement. Yash.
Well, that's correct, Shireen. So just to set a quick context, Axis entities were to acquire a total of 20% stake in Max Life Insurance. 13% out of that 20% was acquired, and that was acquired at a price of 35 rupees per share, which means 7% was still pending. Now, before they could come to the 7% transaction, the insurance regulator came in between, said that the valuation for the first 13% was not done as per fair market value, wasn't uniform. In fact, both entities, Axis Bank and Max Life, were penalized for the same violation. Now, on October 19, CNBC-TV18 had reported that the insurance regulator is unlikely to approve the balance 7% transaction at the same valuation as the first 13%, and that's exactly what has happened. Axis Bank has informed the exchanges that the bank has entered into a revised agreement with Max Financial on January 9th. Now, as per the revised agreement, they will be acquiring that balance 7% stake in Max Life at a fair market value. Also, this fair market value will be derived as per the discounted cash flow mechanism. Now, this is essentially a big positive for Max Financial Services, which is the parent company and the listed arm of Max Life Insurance. Why? For three important reasons. The first one is that all the uncertainty on this transaction now goes out of the window and the deal can go through. The second one is that Max Financial will essentially get more money because the revised valuation will throw up a higher number, and hence they will get more money for the stake which they will sell in Max Life Insurance to Axis Bank. And the third one, now with Axis Bank coming in at about 20% stake in the company, the uncertainty over the business which Axis Bank gets to Max Life, that is the bancassurance channel, will also go out of the window. So the OTC sales will also get safeguarded with this particular transaction going through.
All right, Yash, many thanks for joining us. Now, former chief of ICICI Bank Chanda Kochhar and her husband Deepak Kochhar have been released from jail today. The Bombay High Court called the arrest illegal and granted them bail yesterday. However, the couple must report to the investigating authorities whenever summoned. Michael Patra will continue as the RBI Deputy Governor for another year. The government has extended his tenure by a year with effect from the 15th of January. His 3-year tenure was set to end next week. The Union Power Ministry has asked power generation companies and utilities to import 6% of India's coal requirement for the next 6 months. The government has said that coal supply from all sources is unable to meet the demands of thermal power plants. Abhimanyu joins us now with more details. Abhimanyu, take us through the order.
Much ahead of the summer, the Power Ministry has asked Gencos and other utilities to import 6% of India's coal requirement for blending with domestic coals till September 2023. The government has noted a rise in the share of coal-based power generation due to a recent surge in power demand, which has not been met despite an increase in coal supply from various sources. The shortfall between daily coal consumption and supply is between 1 to 3 lakh tons per day, and the demand from the thermal power plants is not being met. The ministry had noted the coal stocks will progressively decline to nil and will impact power supply if at all imported coal is not blended, and stressed on the need to streamline coal import for blending to avoid clogging of logistics and to avert a repeat of the first and second quarters of FY23 when stocks of imported coal had piled up across Indian ports due to constraints of logistics. Reports from Grid India have suggested that the rise in energy demand is expected to stay at an increased level in H1 of 2023-24. CEA has also accordingly revised the coal requirement target for the fourth quarter of the current financial year. On 28th April 2022, the Power Ministry had mandated 10% blending of the available domestic coal with imported coal and rolled back the order in August. The Coal Ministry later informed the Parliament that coal import by the power sector in the first 7 months of FY23 was 38.84 million tons compared to a total import of 27 million tons in the entire financial year 2022.
Abhimanyu, many thanks for joining us. The UP government has suspended the production license of pharma company Marion Biotech, saying it did not reply to a show cause notice. Marion Biotech has come under the scanner after its cough syrup was linked to the death of 18 children in Uzbekistan. Private equity firm Carlyle has acquired a majority stake in beauty and wellness brand VLCC. In a statement, the company said that funds for the transaction will directly come from funds managed by entities that are affiliated with the Carlyle Group. Arundhati Ramanan joins us now with more. Arundhati, take us through the contours of this deal.
Absolutely, Shireen. Like you said, private equity firm Carlyle Group has acquired a majority stake in Indian beauty care and wellness solutions provider VLCC, making a big play in India's booming D2C market. Now, in a statement, the company has said that the equity for the transaction will come from funds managed and advised by entities affiliated with Carlyle Asia Partners. However, the PE firm has not disclosed any financial terms. Meanwhile, VLCC founders Vandana Luthra and Mukesh Luthra will continue to hold a significant stake in the company.
The company was founded in 1989. The skincare and beauty product brand has a network of 210 retail clinics in 118 cities across 11 countries in South Asia, the Middle East and Africa. In FY23, the company is expected to post revenues of 1,000 crore rupees, and 70% of the company's sales comes from the skin and beauty product segment. Now, Carlyle has also invested over $5.5 billion in over 40 transactions in India as of September 30, 2022. In India, its investments range from SBI Cards to Metropolis, Yes Bank and Delivery. Now, this comes at a time when India's beauty and personal care market has only been heating up. Just last year, we saw Reliance Industries pick up a majority stake in Natural Salon and Spa. With that, it's back to you.
Arundhati, many thanks for joining us. Carlyle picking up a majority stake in VLCC. Time for a short break, but up next, authorities begin the demolition of buildings marked unsafe in Uttarakhand's Joshimath. 678 buildings, including 2 hotels, are set to be razed to the ground. That and more when we return. Well, the big national story, evacuation continues in Uttarakhand's Joshimath, where nearly 700 houses have developed cracks. The Supreme Court has denied an urgent hearing of a petition that sought the court's intervention. The Supreme Court bench says that there are democratically elected institutions to look into the matter. However, the issue has been listed for hearing on the 16th of January. Authorities have begun demolition of buildings marked unsafe. 678 buildings, including 2 hotels, are set to be razed to the ground. Local activists are protesting in the area, accusing the government and authorities of negligence. The Union Minister of State for Defence, Ajay Bhatt, is also in Joshimath. The army is also impacted due to this crisis. Forces have vacated 29 buildings that they were occupying.
तो मुख्यमंत्री साहब ने जो है हमको सुनना भी गवारा नहीं किया, बैठना तो दूर, कहा कि मैं अपने सीएस से बात कर लूँगा, चीफ सेक्रेटरी से वार्ता करूँगा। तो हमने कहा हम क्या करेंगे, नहीं आप जाओ। तो हमको बड़ा वो लगा। फिर उसके बाद फिर उनके भाजपा के प्रदेश अध्यक्ष ने हमको बुलाया कि नहीं मैं देखता हूँ। फिर उन्होंने हमारे साथ धोखा किया। तो फिर अब हमारा जो है सब्र का बांध छलक गया और तब आकर के हमने यहाँ 4 तारीख बड़ा प्रदर्शन हुआ। 1,500 लोगों ने मशाल जुलूस निकाला, जो सारे टीवी कैमरों ने दिखाया है, टीवी के चैनलों में दिखा है।
मतलब लेवल्स आपने सारे कवर कर लिए, एसडीएम से लेकर के सीएम। सर अभी
जब जो है हमारा क्रोध इन्होंने, मतलब लोग क्या करेंगे इसके बाद, लोग सड़क पे आने की स्थिति में, तब जाकर के मशाल जुलूस निकला है। उसके बाद चक्का जाम लगा है, उसके बाद ये शुरू हुआ है।
जोशीमठ के लोगों का कहना है कि जो सरकार फिलहाल सत्ता में है राज्य के लेवल पे, 2021 में पहली बार नवंबर में उन्होंने क्रैक्स देख लिए थे। उसके बाद कई बार अलग अलग लेवल पे लोकल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन से उन्होंने शुरू किया था और मुख्यमंत्री साहब तक से मिले थे, लेकिन किसी ने उनकी बात नहीं सुनी, किसी के कान पे जू तक नहीं रेंगी। ये जोशीमठ के लोगों का कहना है। तो इस मामले में कोई एक्शन सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट लेगी अब स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के उन लोगों पे जिन्होंने लापरवाही दिखाई है?
देखिए, ऐसा कोई इंटेंशन नहीं था। मैं समझता हूं,
नहीं था सर, लेकिन हुआ तो ना।
मैं समझता हूं कि कोई इंटेंशन किसी का नहीं है कहीं पर भी। इत्तेफाक से मुझे अभी किन्हीं ने बताया, बहुत सीनियर आदमी है, कि हमारे यहाँ क्रैक आते रहती थी, हम पैच कर देते थे, कोई खास बात नहीं, पहाड़ में आते रहता है, ये उन्होंने मुझे बताया। लेकिन इतना सीरियस होगा किसी को पता नहीं था। ये तो सीरियस तो तब हुआ जब इस बार हुआ है, और जो देखते थे, हमारे लोग देखते भी थे वहाँ, ऐसी बात नहीं है। नगर पालिका हमारी देखती थी, सारी चीज़ें देखती थी। अब जो हुआ उस पर हम पीछे न जाकर आगे कैसे ठीक करें, हम ये देखना है। और जब भूगर्भ शास्त्री अपनी रिपोर्ट देंगे तभी हम किसी चीज़ पर कोई कमेंट कर पाएंगे, क्योंकि हम लेमैन है इस विषय में। स्पेशलिस्ट तो भूगर्भ शास्त्री हैं।
करेक्ट, स्पेशलिस्ट वो है। सर आपने कहा इंटेंशन नहीं था, बिल्कुल मान लिया, कोई किसी भी सरकार का इंटेंशन लोगों को तकलीफ देना, उनकी जान माल को नुकसान पहुंचाना तो होता ही नहीं है। लेकिन लापरवाही एक एंगल है जो कि जोशीमठ के लोगों का कहना है कि दिखाई गई पूरे 1 साल से ज्यादा वक्त तक, स्थानीय प्रशासन से लेकर के मुख्यमंत्री तक। तो अब उसके लिए किसी को तो आंसरेबल होना पड़ेगा ना सर। इतने सारे लोग जो हैं उनकी जान पे बनाई है, आंसरेबल कौन है, जवाबदेही किसकी?
देखिए, पहले क्या हुआ उस ओर न जाते हुए आगे सारी जिम्मेदारी हम लेते हैं, सरकार ले रही है। सरकार की तरफ से मैं कह रहा हूं, मैं विश्वास दिलाता हूं, किसी को कोई परेशानी होने ही नहीं देंगे। जो हुआ अनहोनी टाली नहीं जा सकती है। एवरीथिंग इज प्रीडेस्टाइन्ड, सब पूरे निर्धारित है।
सर ये तो सुनने बोलने में अच्छा लगता है कि किसी को कुछ नहीं कर सकते, अनहोनी नहीं टाल सकते, लेकिन एक एग्जाम्पल सेट करने वाली बात भी होती है। आज अगर जिन लोगों ने लापरवाही दिखाई है उन पे एक्शन नहीं होता, और ये जोशीमठ के लोगों का क्लेम है कि लापरवाही दिखाई गई, मेरा नहीं है, लोगों का कहना है। तो अगर आज जिन लोगों ने लापरवाही जोशीमठ के लोगों के मुताबिक दिखाई है, उन पे आज अगर कोई एक्शन नहीं होता है, तो क्या गारंटी है कि भविष्य में बाकी कोई और जगह, कहीं और कोई जोशीमठ नहीं बनेगा जहां सरकार ध्यान नहीं देगी?
देखिए, कुछ चीज़ों को बढ़ा के कोई फ़ायदा नहीं होने वाला है। अगर हम कोई बात में
तो लैक ऑफ अकाउंटेबिलिटी वाली बात हो गई।
नहीं, ठीक है, दिस इज़ नॉट माय जॉब। मैं इसमें कुछ नहीं बोल सकता हूँ, मेरा बोलना उचित भी नहीं रहेगा, क्योंकि स्टेप बाय स्टेप सारी चीज़ें होती हैं, जांचें चल रही हैं, सारी चीज़ें आ रही हैं, प्रधानमंत्री जी स्वयं मॉनिटरिंग कर रही हैं, वो देख रहे हैं एक एक चीज़ को। तो कुछ चीज़ें ऐसी हैं ना जो मैं बोल नहीं पाऊँगा, क्योंकि हमको जब जैसे ही पता लगा हम एक्शन में आ गए।
Well, that is the Minister of State for Defence speaking with our colleague Santya Gora, who's been reporting from the disaster zone of Joshimath, where 80 families have now been evacuated to a safer location. Santya also spoke with a family who had no option but to leave their home in the bitter cold of January, now staring at an uncertain future.
This is the Joshial family of Uttarakhand's Joshimath town. This big family used to stay in 3 houses right next to each other here. But at least 10 days ago, the family noticed that all 3 houses had developed serious cracks. By the 3rd January, when the Joshimath issue came to light, the family was shifted to the Joshimath Primary School. Days are still manageable, but as expected, nights are difficult, says the family.
लड़कियों लोगों भी रो रही कि हमारे पापा का बना हुआ था, दादी दादों का घर था, आज उनको भी रोना पड़ा। जैसे हम रो रहे वो भी रो रहे हैं, मम्मी हम कैसे देखेंगे अपने पापा का बना हुआ दादी दादों का घर, हम कैसे आएंगे, कैसे देखेंगे, ऐसे घर ऐसा हो गया, बहुत बिखर गया घर। आप देखना कल तो क्या स्थिति और की घर, मंदिर था देवी देवताओं के मंदिर, वो भी टूट गया, कुछ नहीं रहा हमारे घर, तो सारा के रोड में।
So this is Joshial family of Joshimath, and this is not, they are not alone. There are 81 families which are dislocated and shifted to these rehabilitation camps till 9th of January. And as I said, it's past midnight, and these people, this is how they are living. These are their rehabilitation camps, and this is the condition these people who are dislocated are living in the bitter cold of January.
This crisis has disturbed every aspect of the Joshial family. This is 16-year-old Rahul Joshial. Rahul is a student of class 10th and has to sit down for board exams in the next 2 months. Between all the moving and these dim bulbs at the rehabilitation camp, Rahul is struggling to prepare for his exams.
मैम जैसे मेरे बोर्ड एग्ज़ाम है जो फरवरी में आने वाले हैं, पहले तो पढ़ाई सही चल रही थी, लेकिन जब हमारे फैमिली में ऐसी दिक्कत आने लगी तो मेरी पढ़ाई में भी वैसे ही आते रहे। मैक्सिमम 1 हफ्ता हो गया मेरी पढ़ाई ढंग से नहीं हो रही है, और तब शिफ्टिंग दिन भर शिफ्टिंग करते फिरते थक जा रहे हैं, फिर रात को ही पढ़ नहीं पा रहे हैं, और फिर ऐसी टाइम हो जा रहा, फिर बोर्ड एग्ज़ाम है, डर लग रही है, पढ़ाई नहीं हो रही है ऐसी।
The Joshial family is only one of the numerous families suffering. By the 9th of January, a total of 81 such families were evacuated and shifted to similar camps in the city. The state government says its focus is on safe evacuation.
अभी हमारी जो सबसे पहली प्रायोरिटी है, प्राथमिकता है कि सभी लोगों को सुरक्षित स्थानों पर किया जाए और जान माल की सुरक्षा की जाए।
The state government, which is now claiming to work in war footing mode, had more than a year to take appropriate action, say the local people of Joshimath. Locals claim that it was in November 2021 for the first time that they noticed cracks in their houses. Residents claim that for over a period of 1 year, they tried to raise an alarm and alert the state government, but no one listened to them, including the CM himself. And now, when the situation has become worse, these people, these families are dislocated in this bitter cold of January. In Joshimath, with camera person Lakshman Singh, this is Santya for CNBC-TV18.
And before we wrap, missing a flight is one of the biggest fears of almost every air traveller. Reaching late at the airport or missing a flight due to a delay in airport checks are some of the common reasons why people miss their flight. But something very bizarre happened to passengers at the Bengaluru airport yesterday. Over 50 passengers waiting to board the Go First flight were baffled to see the aircraft flying away with their luggage, but without them. Chaos and commotion followed as passengers took to social media to express their outrage. The aviation regulator has sought a report from the airline. DGCA officials telling CNBC-TV18 strict action will be taken against those responsible. And that's it then on this edition of Business 360. Thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned to CNBC TV 18. The news continues when we return.